with you, only you. A cosmic dance, the truth so true. From the ether to the earthly plane, all you seek, you can attain. The quantum flow, the light you hold, creates the story that will unfold. Every thought and step you make, the universe is yours to take. It starts with you, the mirror's hue, infinite skies reflecting you. From the void, you birth the light. Through the shadows, your soul takes flight. The winds will shift, its timeless bend. Every cycle begins again. Your energy builds, it flows, it streams, aligning rims, igniting your dream. Each vibration, each sacred sound, a universe moves resound. You are the spark, divine and true, illuminating. It's all you do. Just remember, it starts with you, the mirror's hue, infinite skies reflecting you. From the void, you birth the light. Through the shadows, your soul ignites. The path within, the path divine. Through space, your world aligns. Every rise, every fall, you're connected to it all. It starts with you, the quantum view, manifesting dreams like the morning dew. From the stillness, creation flows. Through the darkness, your spirit knows. It starts with you, only you. Through dimension, through the veil, the sacred truth, and you prevail. Now infinite, clear, and true. This road ahead, it's made for you. It all begins and ends with you. Even the chaos, through the flame, you rise anew, never the same. Every heartbeat, every sign weaves your essence, soaring high. The cosmos bends to your command. Creation blooms within your hand. It starts with you, only you, only you. It starts with you.
Peace, family. Happy Sunday. Come in, let's hold some space today. Welcome in as you guys get into the space. We're going to be unpacking some beautiful things tonight. We're going to get our vibe going so we can be ready. So we're going to come in this space and share. Yes. And I give myself permission to do that tonight. So I'm going to get my disclosures on the way. I share my own experiences on my journey to healing, and I am a certified life coach. And my mission is simple: to restore the knowledge of self rooted in balance, truth, justice, reciprocity, and divine knowing within me. The beautiful thing is you don't have to abandon everything that you've been taught to receive what's available. Access is already in you. Now, let me remind you of something powerful, and I quote, "The works that you see me do, you can also do, and greater works can you also as well." How can I do these works, you ask, Ty? From gaining the power from within. So while you're, waiting on Jesus, lend me your meantime, because if you don't recognize the responsibility and your responsibility in this process, everything you do is useless. So if it don't apply, let it fly. If some apply and some don't, eat the meat and spit out the bones. If all of it applies, eat it all and apply the knowledge. Welcome in. Happy Sunday. Come in. We're going to be holding space for a short time, not a long time. I don't know unless the Spirit leads me elsewhere. But before we get into the topic tonight, which is a long time coming, we're going to unpack some intentions. So come in and hold space, but I'm going to have you, before we begin, to take a deep breath with me as we go on this journey of unfolding. As you settle just for a moment, as you settle, I want you to sit with something real, a long time coming. Think of things that it's been a long time coming for you, that you've been praying for, that you've been asking for, and they still haven't shown up. And don't rush past that. Just ask yourself, what has been a long time coming in my life? And we understand and overstand in this space that we can say something is coming and feel it, and even sometimes believe it, and still not be building it the proper way. So just notice that. Notice that there's no pressure, just awareness. Have I been in it, or have I been imagining it? Just sit with that. Now I want you to bring something in for you that to sit with. And we're going to be unpacking tonight. And I want us to be open to the possibilities of what we think and what we say when we say these things. Do my prophet no harm. We're unpacking that tonight. And I don't want you to go outside for it. Bring it in. Because there's a part of you that already sees clearly. It knows when something is off. It knows when you're not aligned. It knows when you're saying one thing and living something else. And we don't listen to that part. So tonight we're not going to talk over it or soften it. We won't replace it with something that feels better, because that's where the harmful process and the harm shows up. So tonight we set the intention to be honest in where we've been filling the space, and just been willing to not override that knowing. So with no judgment, just clarity. And from there, we'll move. And in this, everything that's mine belongs to me. And what's yours starts with you. And I say, and you should say with me, and so it is. Hotel. Quote tonight, do my prophet no harm. So you're going to hear me saying that throughout tonight. And we're going to be unpacking what that looks like. So for those of you that are new, I welcome you into the space. And for you, those of you that have come in before, I welcome back into the space. My name is Ty Simatawi, and I welcome you into the space where it starts with you, where there's no shame, blame, or judgment. However, we do hold ourselves and one another accountable. But here in this space, we do a lot of things different. You're not going to find this the same. You're not going to find this anywhere else. What Ty unpacks is going to be unique. But come and hold space with us tonight as we expand. And if something comes up for you while you're here, you're welcome to share it in the chat. If you rather remain anonymous, send it to my inbox and I'll hold space with it on anonymously on your behalf. So let's get into it. Last week we unpacked the topic of rags to riches. And we got clear on, what rags, it wasn't just about money. Rags was, when everything within you was pulling you in a different direction, your thoughts going one way, your words going another, your action doing something completely different. And riches was alignment. When what you think, say, and do, and what you feel all show up in alignment and they move as one. Now tonight, we're building on that. We always build on things. Ty is not going to recommend for you something that doesn't connect. So what we build on is the things that we connect together. Because you can't talk about alignment and not talk about what's been a long time coming. That's the topic tonight. Dr. Simatawi and I were conversing, as we usually do. And let me tell you what I grabbed from our Bible study. Welcome in. What I grabbed from our Bible study. We always tend to say a family that prays together stays together. So here we are again, unpacking what we uncovered. But this time, we're not just praying, we're paying attention. Because before we go any further, we have to make clear distinction before we get into the meat of the topic, what a long time coming looks like. And tonight, we're bringing something into the space. Prophecy versus a long-term plan, what that looks like. Because what many of us have been calling prophecy is something that's been building over time. And if you don't separate the two, you'll keep waiting on something instead of recognizing what requires your participation. So what you're calling prophecy is a long-term plan. And if you don't separate the two, you'll stay confused. So let's make it simple. And then that's what Ty is going to do. We're going to break it down to the lowest denominator. So let's make it simple. Prophecy has most been seen as if something that will happen, something already written, something you wait on. But a long-term plan is something designed to unfold over time. Now I want you to stay with me, because these are new things and new concepts that have not been introduced to you. Because a lot of what people do, what we do today, and what we call prophecy and prophetic word is not what that is. They're repeating information that was already given, aka a long-term plan. They're taking what somebody else said and passing it off as their own. That's plagiarism. That's what we call plagiarism. When I take what somebody else has given and I claim it as my own without changing anything in it and try to make it apply to you. They put on that hat like they're trying to make you aware of what's coming. But family, what if instead of prophecy, you have a long-term plan that's showing up, and we're going to be examining that tonight. From the beginning, when power stopped in and organized what people now follow as biblical teaching during the time of Constantine and them boys, I'm going to call him Constantine not so great. They had a meeting at the Council of Nicaea, and they put a structured system in place. And that system was built around something very specific: how your mind works, how your brain responds, and how people act under pressure. So what people are calling prophecy today is not that. And it's not. It's a pattern being explained, being repeated, and being reinforced. And there's a difference. Because from the beginning, this system understood something. If you keep people in fear, if you keep people waiting, if you keep people expecting something to happen, the brain stays in survival mode. And when the brain stays in survival mode, it reacts, it follows, it doesn't question. When the brain feels fear or uncertainty, it shifts into that mode. And that's your amygdala taking over the part of your brain designed to keep you safe. And when that happens, your thinking brain, your prefrontal cortex slows down. So instead of analyzing and questioning it, you react fast. You look for guidance. You look to be following what feels safe. Because in survival mode, the brain is focused on protection, not understanding. Now stay with me, because if you bring that story back, Probably the very first story you heard, what people call Adam's partaking, when he partook in the allegory. You see the shift in awareness from being at ease, frolicking around in the garden, to now being aware, shame, afraid, and uncertainty. And once that fear and uncertainty enters the space, the mind moves into the same survival pattern. And what happens when people are in survival mode, Ty? And this is important, because when your nervous system is in survival mode, you can't think like you're supposed to. You're just reacting. And you start looking outside of yourself for something just to show up. And you become dependent on someone else to guide you through those things, because you need direction to feel safe. And that's why at that time they were giving those prophets, they were giving those leaders, they were giving the priests at that time, not as spiritual figures, but as external guidance, because they lost something. Family, people who no longer trust their own awareness, that's what shows up for them. And they needed that at the time. Keep this in mind, because this was pre-cross. So you should be able to see the connection now. When the mind is unstable, it seeks authority. When your mind is afraid, it follows direction. So now, instead of learning and developing and growing, you're trying to survive. And that's why the righteous as well as the unrighteous was dying at that time. This is why they call you sheep. That's a metaphor. And we set up and let them play in our faces with bubbles and insult us right in our face and not even know it. If you're not aware, family, let me tell you something. Sheep represent people who need guidance. They have to move as a group because they're not capable of leading and moving on their own, and they rely on the shepherd for direction. This is what they think of you. They think, let me correct that. They want you to think that you have nowhere to go without a shepherd. After Jesus shifted the focus, it was not about someone outside of you telling you what God is saying. It was about what's been placed inside you. Listen, the text says the Spirit is poured out on all flesh. Y'all use that when you want the exceptions to be a pastor, when it tells you you're not supposed to be. When you women want to be a pastor, you use that text to make excuses for yourself. We're not supposed to cherry pick what we want. That same law is supposed to be written on your heart the same way. Don't take pieces. Don't take bits and pieces of it. So now, you're not meant to depend on a prophet. You're meant to discern, choose, and live it out yourself. The role changed from being led step by step to being responsible for what you see and what you understand and what you do. And that's the key. If it's on you now, waiting on prophecy keeps you passive, but awareness and action puts you in position to actually live your life. I have to bring you back to the text because I know what you're going to say. Now bring it back to the text. Because people love to say, do my prophet no harm. And they like to throw that around to protect themselves. But let's be clear, prophets in the text had a specific function. And what you're seeing today is that function being taken out of context and abused. And we're unpacking that tonight. I'm calling you to the carpet tonight. I remember when Dr. Simatawi came on the scene. I came across one of his videos before him and I got back into connection with one another. I came across one of his videos. The first one I saw was The Love of Money. And I was just so mesmerized about this beautiful picture that he painted. And I could just see the imagery just happening right in front of my face as he was walking this thing down. And I was just like, chef kiss. And then he went into Jesus Ain't Coming Back. If I was a pastor, let me tell you something. If I was a pastor and I heard that message, I would be terrified. I would have been spooked. Because those answers that y'all play around with, the brother connected the dots and he made it apparently clear how this works. He tied everything to text. And he walked us through that thing and left no crumbs on the plate. A blind man could see it. It was so evident. He was putting y'all on and he gave it to you. There was a line where Jesus said, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming. Now, if you take that at face value, that statement was tied to the people standing there at that time. He was giving that to the people that was right there witnessing this. So he said, if that's the case, and he hadn't come back yet, where are these 2,000-year-old people? What does that mean, Ty? Why are you giving us this? Because if we're talking about 2,000 years later, and death has come to all those people at that time, Houston, we have a problem. So now you have to wrestle with that text. And I understand why, y'all. I really do. I understand why y'all called a meeting to run that brother out of town, because it threatened the lie that you've been standing on knowingly. But this is what y'all condone. And that pattern didn't just exist then. It's still happening today. It's still happening now. I hear you saying, come from amongst them. That's what they say. That's what I've heard you say. Come from amongst them. So that's why we're going deeper tonight, because Ty like to call a thing, and I call it to the carpet, because what you've been calling prophecy is actually a long-term plan, and we're unpacking that. But I'm going to slow it down. Even though I came in late because I was having technical difficulties, I'm going to take my time, and I'm not going to feel rushed when I do it. Because we're going to slow it down and we're going to actually think about these things as we unpack them. Because during what they call the Olivet Discourse, I recall Jesus was speaking with the disciples, not guessing, but telling them what to look for at that time. And one of the things that he said, that the generations then would not pass away until those things take place, not stop. Because that should raise some questions for you. Was that fulfilled in their time? Was it symbolic, or was it something they were supposed to be witnessing directly? I have to do this because the brain is wired to protect that stability that you clung to. It will help. It will make you rationalize or reinterpret information to keep you current. Keep your current beliefs intact, rather than to face the discomfort of being wrong. And y'all do it all the time. I see y'all. Well, the way I was looking at it, it's a little bit different. I need to add something to it. I'm not gonna admit that I was wrong. So I see it all the time when your mind's playing tricks on you. So instead of accepting what challenges it, the mind creates explanation that reduces the tension because certainty feels safer than that change that Ty keeps bringing into her space. So when Ty asks those questions, it don't feel safe. So I got to do this thing. I got to do this mental gymnastic because it's challenging what I've already accepted. And when something challenges a long held belief, the mind is naturally going to resist to protect what it feels. So instead of exploring the meaning, y'all default to defending the belief because uncertainty feels more threatening than being wrong. So I know tonight is going to be scary. Oftentimes it is. When y'all see that red light around my thing, y'all just, oh my God, what's she going to say now? I never come on here and give y'all the same thing twice. Go to my YouTube and check. Everything is different and it all connects. That's what my art is. It's going to bring you back to the origin of things. And that's what Ty is going to do. Welcome in. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. The A. Welcome in. When I get in my zone, A, I be in it. And brothers, if you were in that mob that tried to run my Mookie out of town, if you didn't know, now you know what you were experiencing. Okay. If you didn't know, you now know. But anyway, one thing is clear. It was spoken to them in a specific moment. So if something was spoken to them, why do you automatically move it to you? Why are you okay with them saying this applies to you today without examining the meaning of it first? That's where the problem starts. Because instead of slowing down and asking, what is actually being said? People jump to, this is about us. And it's not. Not if you take it from a physical standpoint. This is a metaphysical thing. So you have to look beyond the physical to get what they was telling you, what they're telling you today, but they were saying to them at that time. I'm not telling you what to believe, but what I am saying is examine it. Because if you don't, you can take something that was already fulfilled and already unfolding and turn it into something that you're still waiting on. Topic tonight, a long time coming. And now look at you, sitting there waiting. Back in the day when I was growing up, we had this song and we were singing about this little boy that would sit on the porch waiting for his daddy all day long. He would wait all day long for his daddy and then the sun go down and the daddy never came. Imagine yourself sitting on your porch, waiting on something that never shows up. Welcome in, family. Instead of understanding, we're going to get real uncomfortable tonight. Because when something challenges what you were taught, naturally you're going to defend it. And not because it's true. So now we have to ask a better question. What are we actually protecting with the prophet versus the pattern? Let's get it. And we're going to be precise. What you sorry for, eh? The prophets, like in those, the books that they give you, the book of Isaiah, the book of Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, the book of Malachi. They were not observing patterns. They weren't speaking from experience. They weren't guessing outcomes. They were delivering messages directly from God. So I can hear the question, what's the difference between them and me, Ty? What's the difference? Here it is, plain. If you've already seen it, experienced it, recognized the pattern, that is not a prophecy. That's pattern recognition. And don't miss it. Prophecy and text comes first, then reality follows. Pattern recognition shows up as reality happens, then you recognize it. There's a difference between that. We're breaking it down to the lowest denominator now. Okay. Congratulations. So now before we go further, you have to sit with this. And I'm going to ask you again, are you seeing clearly, or are you waiting on something that's already happened or is already unfolding? Because if you get that wrong, you don't just misunderstand the text, you misunderstand your life. You misunderstand your life. Look at how important this is. If you misunderstand your life, I unpacked last time, how do you know what to look for? Look in creation and you'll see it. This thing is simple, but it's complex because we were trained the wrong way to begin with. And it got turned into something that we're waiting on. Now, look at you. Just sitting there waiting, and still yet do we understand? And instead of asking questions, instead of breaking it down, we get uncomfortable. And when people get uncomfortable, they don't examine nothing. I just want to get back safe. And I'm not here to argue about this. These are facts. And I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm telling you, again, to examine it, because once you slow down and look at it, you start seeing that not everything was meant to be, pushed thousands of years forward. And that right there goes back to what we were talking about tonight, prophecy versus a long-term plan. Because if you don't examine it, you can take something that was already fulfilled and already happened and turn it into something that you're waiting on. And now you're back in the same position, waiting, repeating the same cycles. Dr. Simatawi told me earlier today, insanity is repeating the same things, trying to wait on different results. So now we have to ask some beautiful questions. What does it look like today? If the text says prophecy was direct communication from God, thus said the Lord, the person is just a vessel. And why do we see something different now? I'm glad you asked. Because that same text addresses it. And I already said it, there's a shift post-cross that happened. Now, when I refer to this, I'm not saying that as if it really happened, but I'm saying if we're going to use it, we need to know how to use it metaphysically. According to your allegory, that all flesh would have that spirit. Now, what does that mean? That means your access no longer is limited. You don't have this box that you had before. It's not just one person hearing from everyone. The capacity is now distributed. So instead of one prophet, many followers. Now it becomes many people with awareness and responsibility. That's the shift. That's my art. That's the origin. According to the text, your level of prophecy is not based on personal feeling, personal experience, pattern recognition. It's what's presented as direct revelation. So now you ask, is this revelation or is this pattern recognition or repetition of what has already been said? Because those are not the same. So I have to call it out. And I'm going to have to make you aware that every prophecy, everything that they give you, every strong feeling is not God speaking. Every pattern you recognize is not divine revelation. How do you know, Ty? It's not that nobody can speak into your life. But if everything has to come through somebody else, then you're still operating like you don't have access to God yourself. If God can speak to you, then why can't he speak to me? Y'all need to be asking these questions. If God sent you a message for me, and if I'm not hearing anything, is the issue that God isn't speaking or that I haven't learned how to listen yet? Either way, there's some accountability that we need to take. Now that right there can change the whole conversation, because now the focus shifts from them back to you. So instead of asking, what did my prophet say? Now the question becomes, what am I seeing? What am I discerning? Because if the access is already there, then the responsibility is too. And once you see that, you can't keep outsourcing your life and then calling that faith. Because at some point, faith without awareness turns into dependency. And that's the very thing that you are supposed to grow out of. You ain't supposed to stay there. Now, because there's some confusion about what a prophet is, Ty's here to give you, I'm going to give it to you the way you know it, according to the biblical allegory. Prophecy is presented as direct communication with God. Not that I observed it. I think this is going to happen. Now let's take two examples. I'm going to give you two examples. I want you to sit with it as I unpack it. The promised land. And we're going to unpack this again at the end. From the book of Exodus. You will be brought into a land. That wasn't Moses saying, I've seen the pattern before. That was presented as God speaking directly. The people didn't discover it. They didn't analyze it. It was given to them. That prophecy required a plan. They had to become aligned. They had to move differently. They had to follow through. And when they didn't, they stayed in the wilderness. So even with prophecy, there was still participation required. There was still the work. The second prophecy, or the second prophet, was one y'all love to use. Malachi. Malachi opened with the word of the Lord. Again, not observation, no pattern recognition, claim direct revelation. And what was he doing? He was calling out the conditions of the people, warning people of consequences, pointing to what would follow. There's a process. There's always steps. There's always steps to this thing. Let me show you how it works with the prophet Malachi. In the book of Malachi, the message is presented as coming into direct correspondence with God. This was not his opinion. It was not his experience. It was not something he figured out. It was a message that was given to him first. And in that message, God addressed the priest and the people directly. You have turned away from me. You have robbed me of my tithes and offerings. Return to me. And then comes an outcome. If you bring that back into alignment, this is what will follow. So in that moment, it functions as prophecy because the message comes first, then the results follow. When that same message is used today, it no longer comes directly to you. It's not a new, it's not thus said the Lord. It's something already written, already spoken, already applied to specific people. And now it's not a prophecy. You're just biting information that you stole from somebody else. And that's different. Malachi received it. People today repeat it. But here's the key. He was speaking at his time, not giving people 2,000 plus years later something to repeat as their own prophecy. That's not what he was doing. So Ty's going to go deeper. What does that even mean? A long time coming, Ty. I know most of you will hear that and think about time. First of all, there's no such thing as time, and I ain't gonna go into that today. So I don't want you to look at time. I want you to look at these patterns. Can y'all do that for me? We're gonna just look at the patterns that I keep showing in this space instead of just looking at time. Because something being a long time coming is not about how long you've been waiting. Physically it is, but metaphysically it's not. It's about what you've consistently been building. Stay with me because this is, where it's going to start to stretch you a little bit outside of that circumference of awareness that Ty tells you about. We're going to be tapping into the infinite things that we don't know tonight. That means something has been guiding it. Something has been shaping your thoughts, your decisions, what you accept, what you repeat. So now we have to ask, what have I been listening to? What have I been following? What have I been allowing to lead me? And tonight in this space, we answer some of those questions. Because when I hear that, I think about going back, unpacking some of those things. And a lot of you have taken that and immediately placed it outside of yourselves on a person with a special anointing. Because if something has been a long time coming in your life, then something has been influencing you this whole time. So if you don't know to ask questions, I'm going to ask for you. And I give myself permission to ask these questions on your behalf. Who or what have you been allowing to guide your patterns? Because whatever you don't question, you're protecting. Whatever you keep returning to, you reinforce. And whatever you protect, you don't challenge. So now, do my prophet no harm isn't just about a person. It's about what you've chosen not to examine. And now it's been shaping your life. And it's a result of a pattern you've allowed to lead you. And now you can really get into this tonight. Because we have this system now where people are not just being developed, but led by irresponsible people. And you're okay with irresponsible people leading you? Just like at that time. A system like that becomes useless when it removes your ability to see yourself in this circle. Now bring that forward, because what do we see today? I see people that's dependent on others to tell them the truth. Let me correct that. You depend on people to confirm what you already feel. Sit with that. I'm going to sit with mine. Depending on somebody to tell me the truth about something I already feel. You don't go looking for truth. You go looking for agreement. Agreement feels like peace. And we unpacked that peace last week that we were trying to get to. But if it's not in alignment, you're tuning into the wrong frequency. This is why that's why they found fault in the first. And we're calling a thing tonight because I can hear you saying, well, Ty, I don't see it like that. I know. We need our prophets. We need our pastors. We need our leaders. And whatever else names y'all come up with now, apostle, you're giving yourselves all these names. I don't know. Okay, sheep, I hear you. We need them. Let's see about that. First, I'm going to show you something. Because it's easy to say, Ty, that's not me. I'm not doing that. So we're doing some self-evaluations tonight to see if we really check the boxes to put ourselves in the category of, it's not me, Ty. And I'm saying this because I know because I did it. And I don't want us to move too fast because I need to walk us through it. Let me show you how it's you and them. You're both complicit. And this isn't about pointing fingers. This is about identifying those patterns, like we said. So let's bring it into the light. Pastors, prophets, leaders, whatever you're calling yourself, come to the front. I'm inviting you. I'm going to give you a front row seat like y'all give people on the morning bench. Come on up here. Because right now we're in a time where things are being revealed. And whether you want to call it that or not, what's hidden is not staying hidden. So now let's deal with it, because the idea of something being a long time coming is not random. It's a revelation of that long-term plan that Ty's unpacking. It's what we've been building for years. And it's finally being seen. So I'm going to show you what I mean. I saw a video the other day of this woman in this pulpit. She was there at the microphone, just parading around, moving around. And she said she wouldn't pray for the people that don't consistently come to church. She said people come in week after week, draining, taking, not separating themselves for the world. And I thought to myself, and I posted this, I said, I thought it was the person that was sick that needs the physician and not the one that was whole. So what are we doing? Hold on, y'all. Intermission. Because you don't have, she said, y'all don't have the willpower. She told y'all to get your own oil. And she called y'all some spiritual bombs. Why y'all let people talk to y'all like that? I'm asking for myself. Why is it okay for you guys to allow people to treat you like that?
I'm back.
Because this is what I need you to see this. This didn't just start happening. This didn't just come out of nowhere. This is a long time coming, this conversation. And whether we want to have it or not, it's foreign to me. But this is what it looks like when the patterns go unchecked. When that authority that you give them goes unquestioned. This is what it looks like when someone has been positioned as a source for too long. This is what it looks like when the blind is leading the blind, because some of y'all hear shit like that and don't even question it. And that right there shows you the patterns are still active. Because now we have to ask, how did we get here? And more importantly, what have we been allowing that made this normal? Because again, this is not just about her. This is about the patterns. And that pattern being revealed has been a long time coming. It gets real in this space, and Ty will hold space with whatever is showing up for her. This is who you're saying, do my prophets no harm to. This is what we're protecting, not examining, just receiving abuse after abuse, week after week. We make excuses for it. So I asked you, are we honoring truth or are we protecting positions? Because if you can't question it, then you're back in the same system. And this is why this conversation is necessary. This conversation, it's been a long time coming for people to start questioning what they've been receiving. It's been a long time coming to stop confusing authority with alignment. It's been a long time coming to recognize when something sounds strong but isn't rooted in truth. It's been a long time coming to see where dependency has been normalized. It's been a long time coming to learn the difference between a prophecy and a long-term plan. And tonight we're unpacking that. And Kemet, the focus wasn't follow me because I said so. It was, are you in alignment with my art? And I can correct it if it's out of order, if it's out of truth, if it's out of balance, if it's out of integrity. So if someone stood up speaking with authority, the question wouldn't be in my art, are you the prophet? The question would be, is it in alignment and is it righteous? Not how loud is it? Not how fast you can hop on your Honda or roll your R's to speak in tongues. It wouldn't be any of that. But does it bring balance or does it create clinging? Because anything that pulls away from your own awareness will take you out of where you need to be. So now, bringing all the way back, a long time coming is not about something arriving. It's about what's been forming under, what you've been accepting. So if you've been accepting that dependency, authority without alignment, words without integrity, then that's what's been growing. And we all know that you can tell the tree by the fruit that it bears. And now when it shows up, it feels normal. But tonight, we're breaking that. Because now, you don't just hear something. You're going to start questioning it. You're going to examine it. This is not an attack. I'm not saying attack your beliefs. I'm saying examine it. This is an opportunity for you to see clearly, because some of you are still operating that same pattern that was happening. Back then, prophets, if people have to come to you to feel confirmed, to feel seen, to feel like they're on the right path, confirmation is typically what y'all call it. What are you actually building? If your voice becomes the thing they're dependent on, what happens when you're not there anymore? To depend on that voice, what happens? If your presence, your title, your position is what stabilizes them, what happens then? Are they growing or are they attaching? Sit with that. This is subtle. And if we're honest, some of you benefit from that. You get a dopamine hit when you think about it. Y'all say it all the time. I just get joy when I think about it. We can't rush past these things. You benefit from being needed, from being the one that they come to. So you're living out your childhood fantasy. You benefit from being seen as the source. And again, if I hear you, it's not me, Ty. I'm not benefiting from that. But let me ask you this. When people come to you, do you point them back to themselves? Or do you position yourself as the one that they have to come to and keep coming to? If you don't do that, tell them what's going on here. You're out of alignment. But answer that question for your congregation. When you go to church, ask your pastor, ask him, Pastor, why you don't ever have me look at me? They deserve answers. Because that right there is the difference. Because this isn't just about them. Family, this is something that's not always conscious. Sometimes you're not even aware where what you're doing. Some of y'all know better, and I know you do because you've been on here on Ty. It starts with you for years, and I see you. I be seeing you. I see the analytics. I see you watching. But if we slow it down, that feeling of being needed, it does something to you and for you. And it makes you feel important. It makes you feel certain. It makes you feel like you matter. And I know what that's like. How do you know, Ty? Because I lived it. And for some of you, that's something you've been trying to feel for a long time coming. So when people come to you, depend on you, look to you for answer, it feels something in you. If you're not aware of this, you keep doing it. You can start positioning yourself in a way where people have to keep coming back over and over again because it feels so good to be needed. We'll come back to that later. That's definitely coming because this didn't start here. It started earlier. Maybe you had to grow up too fast, always being the responsible one in the family. Maybe you were, you were the one that people leaned on, but no one checked on. Maybe you were one, you only got attention when you were doing something for somebody. Maybe being useful was how you got love. Or maybe you've been overlooked completely by your mama. And you're living out these things your mama didn't give you. That might step on some toes when I say that. I got a feeling I might be unpacking that one soon too. So now being needed, being called on, being seen as the one feels like something you don't want to lose. So without realizing it, you step into roles where that feeling is always available. So I'm going to be the pastor. I want to be the prophet. Whatever you're calling yourself these days, it can look like a purpose. It can feel like it's the right thing to do. It can look like you the selected one out of the many that was called, but you were the one that was chosen. But underneath, it was just a need that needed to be addressed. Sit with that. We got to sit with the uncomfortable things. It's real over here and it starts with you. If you need to be needed, it becomes hard to let go of a narrative, especially if you're in denial. Because if they no longer need you, what happens to that feeling? Let's get a show because we're digging deep tonight. Topic tonight, it's been a long time coming. Now stay right there. Don't move past that because once you can see it, You shouldn't want to unsee it. Now we can go deeper in what's been a long time coming. Not in the way that you usually saw it or the way that you say it, but in the real ways, because a long time coming is not something showing up out of nowhere. It's something that's been building a whole time, and now we can start naming it. So where does that phrase come from? I know it took me a minute to get here, but I had to give you the background before I got into it. It goes back to the older expression of long in coming or long expected, used as far back the 17 and the 1800s. At the core, it's simple. Something that has been delayed, anticipated, or slowly developing over time. Not sudden, not random. So originally it wasn't emotional or spiritual. It was practical language for something that should happen already, or has been building for a while before finally showing up. That's why there's a deeper meaning. It's not just about waiting. It's about, welcome in, family. It's about what's been in motion this whole time before you finally see it. Okay. What if what you're calling prophecy is just that long-term playing out? Because now we got two separate things. One is a passive, which is the prophecy, and the other one is participatory, long-term plan. Prophecy, how most people use it. It's gonna happen. Just wait on it. But a long-term plan, this is being built, this is being practiced, this requires you. Now, this goes back to something simple. You're supposed to be a doer, not just someone that's waiting, but someone who's able to recognize what's unfolding through these patterns. Because when people bring up prophets like Malachi, they're talking about a time where people were relying on messengers to interpret and call things out. And in the New Testament, you start to see the shift. The kingdom is within you. The movement away from dependency towards responsibility. Why can't we see this, what's possible? Because it's easier to wait on something, to build something. It's easier to call something a prophecy than to take responsibility for the pattern that's required. And I want to say something. I want y'all to hear it clearly. Some people use prophecy language to describe outcomes that actually require participation. So now instead of changing your behavior, people wait on it. They hope and they imagine, they have this imagination that goes. And when that happens, when that thing that you're waiting on, that you're hoping for, that you're imagining doesn't happen, it gets reinterpreted. And that's where confusion comes from. Now we're going to bring it all the way back, because you said something important, Ty, and I don't want to skip over that. And I want to touch into why am I not manifesting what I want? If you're in prophecy mode, it's because you're waiting. If you're in plan mode, you're building. That's different. Prophets are obsolete according to the text. Thank you. Welcome in. Because that responsibility shifts from someone telling you everything to you're developing awareness and testing what you hear. Even scripture supports that. Don't get mad at Ty because she comes in and she gives it to you raw. Don't get mad at her. She's just the messenger. Look, it says test everything. Hold fast to what's good. So now something telling you something you don't know. I'm telling you something you don't know. And just because I told you, that doesn't make it automatically prophetic. It just means they had information that you didn't. And when it comes to the biblical text, you don't have it because you don't read it. And this is where accountability comes in. We have to learn how to step up and know for ourselves and start reading this stuff. Why are we just going on something somebody else is interpreting, and they're bringing in their own trauma, they're bringing in their own mommy issues, they're bringing in all their shit, and they're giving it to you? And if you stay waiting, I'm going to wait on Pastor to tell me what it's supposed to be. I got to have Pastor tell me. I seen this young lady on there, and she came on this live, and she was like, I'm going to take this to my pastor. Why? This spirit was poured up on our flesh, remember? Where is that? Without changing what you're doing, we'll keep waiting. And I have to go here because it's my business. This is how I'm healing. And I have to call it out like I see it. Some of y'all are not prophesying. You're prophet-lying. And you is. You're prophet-lying. And let me tell you why. Because every time you tell people it's going to come to pass, the Lord said your marriage will be saved. The Lord said, keep praying. The Lord said that house is going to be yours. The Lord said all the things. Not only are you lying, I know you lying. So now I hear you. How are you going to tell me, Ty, about my God? That's fair. I understand why you would say that. But here's the part you probably didn't think about. There are 6 questions you can ask, family. And y'all screen record this. Because these 6 things, anytime somebody give you something, this is going to be the playground, not the playground, the blueprint of what you need to start asking. 6 things. First thing you're going to ask is, where did this information come from? Is it something new? Or is this the same thing people always say in situations like this? That's the first question. Second question, have I seen this before? Does this line up with patterns you've already witnessed in people and situations, or is this truly something you've never encountered? This is how they get you. Welcome in, family. Number 3, what is this asking me to do right now? Is it telling you to take action, or just wait, hope, and stay still? Telling you you're going to be revealing some people. Number 4, does this match reality? When you look at your actual situation, does it make sense, or are you forcing it to fit? That's a big one. How does it show up in your life? Number 5, what happens if it doesn't come to pass? Is there always an excuse, a delay? Just keep believing, or keep having faith? Or is there accountability? Number 6, how does it affect me? Does it make me more aware, grounded, and responsible, or does it make me more dependent on the person who's telling me these things that I need to follow? Will it make me have to come back to you for you to tell me what to do next? So now you're not just receiving words, you're examining them against your real life, because at the end of the day, truth will hold up in reality. Patterns will repeat, and anything else will need to be explained away. And you know what I love about that? I love that my aunt provides all of those things for me to check myself. It's always a way to check your answers. Back in I don't know if I was in high school or middle school when I first learned fractions, and they would show you a way of working things backwards so you could check your work. That's all we doing. That's all you doing. If the prophet is prophesying something's going to happen in your life, those 16, ask them questions. Check your work. And if you can't check your work and it don't connect, you, my friend, are living in a fantasy. Remember, this process shows up. You remember I said you shouldn't be able to see, you should be able to see these things in creations last week. I said that because if you don't, if they don't know how creation works, they're not going to be able to tell you and recognize how to see these patterns. And your brain recognizes it. Wait a minute. What I was told doesn't match what I'm living. That gap right there, what you're saying, what I was told, Pastor told me this year I was going to get my house. If it doesn't match what you're living, that means you got a prediction error. That's when your brain expects one thing. Y'all, you know how you say, I'm expecting a miracle, and it don't come to pass. Prediction error. And when that happened, disappointment, confusion, shame, and fear shows up. And instead of helping people understand what their body and their minds are telling them, some of y'all call it doubt, the devil, Satan, lack of faith, whatever you calling it. That's what they give you. That's your nervous system saying, this is not matching my reality. This is your nervous system talking to you, say that, okay, Pastor, they know what the hell you said. Your body is sending you a message that this shit ain't lining up. And when you've been taught, do my prophets no harm, you don't question the prophet, you question yourself. And you turn turn it inwards. Whatever disdain you have, you turn that inwards. You start saying, maybe I didn't believe enough. Maybe I didn't fast enough. Maybe it's because I ate after 8 o'clock. Maybe it's because I accidentally thought about a woman, or I accidentally thought about that man I had no business thinking about. Maybe I wasn't faithful enough. And they give you that same shit. And that's what the mind was designed to do. And now the person who gave you that prediction walks away untouched. They done lied. They done prophesied to you. But because you're not going to hold that accountable, that I done sit up here and took your word for it when I should have been going with what my body, what my reality is saying to me. And they get to going on about their business. And they'll tell you it's not their problem. They'll tell you this is not my issue. While you sitting here with a prediction error, while you're carrying that error around, this is why Ty says, listen, question everything. This is why Ty sees fault in it right now. This is why you should see fault in it right now. Because ask yourself, who benefits from that? Who benefits from him coming prophesying in your life? So you sowing a seed in the money tray. You're showing up on your days off. You're cooking for him. Who benefits from that? Come on, people. We have to, come on. Who benefits from your ignorance? Because deep down, some of these leaders know it doesn't work that way. They know. They know you can't just tell somebody, go get that house. They know that. They know good and well that you can't afford it because you done gave them your tax returns. They know what you make because they analyzing your tax return for you to pay your tithes. So they know how much money you make. They know you can't afford it, but they're gonna tell you your blessing is coming. So sow a seed. They know you can't tell someone. Just keep praying for that abusive spouse of yours. You're gonna win him over. When that person, what they actually need is safety. They need boundaries and they need a plan. But they prophesied to you, so you sit. They're waiting. You're trying to use faith to override your reality, to override that reality that says right now that house is not a good time. To override that saying, well, that nigga tearing your ass up. Uh-oh, can I say that on TikTok? And you praying for that booger. And it ain't doing nothing but getting worse. And that's dangerous. And instead of faith helping you move with wisdom, family, they are giving you faith. And it becomes the thing that you use to ignore what you already know. You already know praying for that brother ain't gonna work. You know this. Your body knows. When the brother walk in the room and you flinch when he walk past you, you know. Your body knows. Your body keeps the score. And it becomes the thing that you use to ignore what you already. Your body saying to you all the time, Ty, beloved, this ain't safe. But faith says stay anyway. Your mind saying this is not working, but faith says keep believing. Reality says this pattern has not changed for 5 years, but faith says just wait, he'll change. And now you're not being spiritual. You're overriding your prediction errors. You're overriding the very signal that was trying to bring you back to the truth. So when you ask me, Ty, how do I control my prediction errors? We have to start being present. That's how. Come back to what's actually happening. Not what they said, not what you hoped, not what you were promised. What's happening? Because right now, some of you are living off somebody else's prediction about your life while you're ignoring your inner knowing. Sorry, I had to step away. Hey, listen, welcome back. This inner knowing that you were given, they gave you a prediction. You adopted that. Then your reality didn't match, and instead of adjusting, you blamed yourself. Throw it in the trash. We're throwing it in the trash tonight. Ball it up. I did that to my mom. I said, when you feel in a certain way, just ball it up and take it and throw it in the trash. Because when you become responsible for your own predictions, you stop needing people to keep feeding you these fantasies. You can look at those patterns and start looking at your own fruit. My fruit is rotten. So we know it's something we need to be doing here. Because you know the unseen things for the things that are seen. You start looking at consistency. You start saying, what is actually showing up in me? What is causing me to do this? What is causing me to show up this way that I don't want to show up? What is causing me to accept this abuse when I know it's not right? What is it causing me? What's causing me to do this? And I'm going to speak directly to the minister tonight, because this one is for you too. If you understand creation, if you understand how patterns work, back. If you understand that what a person practices is what a person produces, if you don't understand how the body works, then why are you giving people predictions without helping them build a plan? They don't want all of this booger booger. These people need plans. They need actions. What can I do to get myself right? What can I do within me? Why are you telling them what's coming without teaching them what they have to do to change? Because prophecy without process becomes a fantasy. And a fantasy without accountability becomes harmful. This conversation has been a long time coming. So when would you say it does not happen? Don't just push it back and say, it wasn't my time yet. Don't just spiritualize the error. Don't just say, God, delay it. Sometimes it wasn't delayed. Sometimes it was never aligned. Sometimes it was never built. Sometimes it was never true. And that's why tonight we're separating prophecy from a long-term plan, because prophecy mode says, wait on it. But plan mode says, look at what I'm building. That prophecy mode is going to keep you in, I just got to believe harder. That plan mode is going to say, pay attention, because this is what we can learn from. Prophecy mode says it's coming, but plan mode says, what are you doing? Get up and do it now. And that right there is where the responsibility comes back to you. As I'm talking to you right now, I'm going to show you how it works, and I'll let you witness it in real time, what I'm talking about. And I want you to pay attention to what your mind is doing when I do this, okay? Pay attention. I'm going to walk us through this. Not what I'm saying. Pay attention to what your mind is doing, because some of you are hearing me, and something is showing up for you right now. Whether it's, this doesn't feel right. This ain't what I was taught. Something about this is off. That right there is a prediction error. That's your brain saying, what I expected is not matching what I'm experiencing. But watch what happens. Some of you will go to belief. You'll go into those beliefs that you already had. The Bible warned me about you, Ty. We were told to watch out for voices like this. So now what are you doing? You're using previous predictions to explain what you're experiencing right now. That's prophecy in real time, not in a mystical sense, but in the sense of a frame you already hold, trying to organize a new experience. Now, here's the key. You have two options in this moment. You can examine what's happening, or you can defend what you already believe. There's more than what we already know, family. And most people choose defending. Religion teaches you. Religion is taught in self-defense. It teaches you self-defense because it feels safer. Now let's connect it. If something was written or taught or repeated over time, it becomes a long-term pattern in your mind. So when something shows up that challenges it, like Ty, your brain right now is trying to protect that. That's why I can feel like it's wrong, that it's dangerous, that I got to come from amongst them. Not because it's actual danger there, Because Ty can't do no harm to you here on TikTok. She's just putting you on education wise. She's just asking you to expand your awareness beyond what you know or what you think you know. She's just telling you what your own text tells you. This is why you have to test all things and hold fast to what's good. That's not telling you to shut down. It's saying examine it. If Ty is telling you something and you feel offended by it, examine it, stay open. Because what happens if it shows up in something she's presenting to you actually works to get you out this cycle of depression, to get you out this cycle of picking the wrong men, to get you out the cycle of not being able to manifest what you need to manifest. What happens then? Why would you come from amongst somebody that's telling you that people are trying to get over on you? Put it in the chat. Why would you want to do that? Family, if you hear something, you don't have to accept it. But you also don't have to reject it immediately either. You can observe. What is happening to me right now? What am I reacting to? Just earlier, Dr. Simontawi was sharing with me how to manifest things, you have to leave the space open to see what other people are willing to show you. And we was talking about marriage and how I have a desire to be a wife. And I was just so adamant about, like, I haven't seen anyone that I envy in a space of relationship. So how is it that I can look at these relationships, because behind the scenes these people can be hiding things? And he was like, well, Tawandria, I know he was serious when he said that. Tawandria, so you're saying, are you telling me that you don't think that other people are out here experiencing what you're experiencing? I said, yeah, I believe that. I don't believe that I'm the only one that is experiencing something that I believe to be beautiful. I don't believe that. I just haven't seen it. He said, well, the space for manifestation, you leave the opportunity for open for what can show up in this space. And I'm just thinking about it. And I said, well, let me think about it. And almost immediately I thought of something that I seen potential in, that I could start looking at these things as if they are. But because I had myself so blocked off, because I had limited myself into this box that we paint ourselves in, and because I was immediately trying to reject something, I couldn't see something that was presenting itself right in front of my face, because all I could see is what I was used to. All I could see is how I was raised and the environment that I was put in at that time. Family, when I tell you and I come on here and I unpack this, it's because I lived it. And I know what it's like. You can observe these things. What is happening in you right now? What am I reacting to? That's presence. That's how you work with a prediction error. Now, here's the deeper piece. Some of you are sitting here thinking, this sounds like a prophecy unfolding. And others are thinking, this is someone speaking from experience and a perspective. Two different interpretations. One open, one closed. One willing to see that I don't have to accept everything. And then another one, I don't have to reject everything. And that shows you something important. Meaning is not just in the message. It's in the lenses that you bring to it. I'm making good time. Take a deep breath. I was in my bag just then. So now a long time coming, it's not just something outside of you. It's what you've heard, what you've accepted, what you've repeated. So when something challenges you, and so when something challenges that narrative, your brain reacts. And if you're not aware of it, you'll start calling that foolishness truth. This is not about saying that everything you've been taught is wrong. It's not. That's why in my intentions and in my disclosure, I said, this is not about abandoning everything that you've been taught, because there's usefulness in those things. It's about asking what is actually happening right now. What patterns am I operating from right now? This is about self-examination. Because once you see that, you now have a choice to make. Not just reaction. So tonight I'm not asking you to agree with me, even though it's a beautiful day if you can. Because listen, when two or more gather, because that moment when something doesn't match, that's where the work is. And if you stay present there, you'll learn more from that than anything I could ever say. I gotta say that again. If you stay present there, you'll learn more from that. And I'm talking about present with self. You'll learn more from that than I could ever say. I don't even have enough words. There's something very strange that happens when what you believe doesn't match what you experience. And most people don't stop long enough to examine that moment because it's uncomfortable. You were told something and you believed it. You organized your behaviors around it. And then reality shows up and doesn't cooperate. Now that moment right there is not random. That's a rupture within you. It's a break between expectations and reality. And if you don't know how to work with that, you don't grow from it. You start defending against it. You'll explain it away. You'll spiritualize it away. You'll blame yourself. Anything to avoid facing what actually is happening. And there's a problem with that. Every time you override that moment, you lose a little trust in yourself. And I know right now, as an African, I know that we just lack so much trust in ourselves. And over time, that shit adds up. Family, I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. It adds up. It just chips away at you. So now you're not just confused about what happened. You're disconnected from your own perceptions. How do you know that, Ty? I can see it. I see it. I can see it when you constantly look outside yourself, when you go to your pastor, when you go to the priest, when you go to the prophets, asking them to tell you what God's saying. And I saw something the other day that'll make it real, real simple. Listen. There was this little boy on this video. I don't know how I get on my For You page, but it just shows up at the right times. That's how I know frequencies work. But I saw this little boy asking his mama to get God to bring. I want God on the phone. Get God on the phone. I'm paying 4.3K too. Okay. He told her to get God on the phone. And she was trying to walk him through it. You can talk to God. He hears you. But you could see it on this little baby's face. And in his actions, he wasn't buying it. Because a child hasn't learned how to lie to himself like we do. Ladies, we be lying to ourselves all the time. But them kids, they don't be wanting to lie to themselves. So in his mind, he's thinking, if he hears me, why can't him answer back? Why can't he answer me back? Now don't miss that, because that right there is the rupture. That moment where what you were told and what you experienced, this is what Ty is talking about. What you were told and what you experienced don't match. And instead of staying with that tension, people are trained to override it. But that same pattern shows up in the text. Even after being given laws, guidance, and structure, the people still said, tell us what to do. Speak to God for us. When they asked the king, that was the shift for awareness to dependency. Because once you start trusting what you see, you will always need someone else to tell you what's real. Is that real? Do you see that too? So slowing this down all the way. Because that moment when something doesn't match, that's not the problem. That's the mental gymnastics. Don't run from that, but learn how to stay with it. When something feels off, don't rush to explain it away, because it may not be that as easy as you just explain it away. Ask yourself, what is happening right now? And I know it seems silly at first. Ask yourself, what's happening? Not what you were told, not what you hope. What are you observing? Because truth doesn't just show up in words, it shows up in your patterns. We have to separate what you were told for what's actually happening in this moment, because those are not the same things. And if you don't separate them, you'll start blaming yourself for something you never aligned with, that you were never aligned with in the first place. Your body keeps the score. Before you even think, it responds. It responds with discomfort and hesitation and all of that information. But most people calls it doubt. They call it fear of lack of faith. Sometimes it's your system telling you the truth. And if you ignore that long enough, you'll stop trusting yourself. And once you stop trusting yourself, you become an easy target for somebody to take you and guide you. You become, listen, most of the women that end up in abusive relationships end up there because they stop trusting themselves. So they're depending on that man to guide them. They're depending on him to show them the way. And it's hard to ground. So what do? Don't run and don't force meaning, because your reality is going to leave those patterns. And if you track the patterns, you can think clearly. You are allowed to update what you believe based on what you observe. And that's not failure. That's wisdom and growth. So before you accept anything, before you move on anything, ask yourself, does this match what I'm seeing? Not just if it sounds good. Because sounding good is not the same as being true. And over time, you doing this is going to help you rebuild that trust for yourself. That's how you're going to stop outsourcing your voice. And that's how you come back to alignment. And if you practice that, you will learn to trust yourself again. And once you do that, you don't need someone to tell you what's coming, because you won't be able to see it. And I know this to be true because I can see danger from a pedophile. Can I say that on there? I'm sorry. From a PD. I don't know how else to say it. A PF a mile away. I can recognize it. I can see it in women that's suffering from abuse. I can see it from a mile away. I can see when a man is squirrely and his eyes are a little bit on the squirrely side. I can see it. You can recognize what's already been built, and what was already being built in me. I mean, we should be able to call them what they are. We should be. But they got so many rules. So I'm trying to be political about it, I'm trying to have some decorum. But this is where the healing starts. I made good time tonight. Before I get out of here, I want to show you what it looks like, not in theory. Now, I'm going to unpack this story allegorically, not as if it really happened. And I want to make sure that I demonstrate a point by this. Before I get out of here, I want to walk through this really quick so we can see what it looks like. This is going to show us a pattern that we've been taught. When I walk this through, you have a people that were enslaved, who were told, once you're going to be released out of this slavery, you're going to go to the promised land. Now that is a prophecy because it didn't come from their observation. It was based on what they were currently seeing. It was based on what they were currently seeing. It was given to them before the reality shows up. That's why I can call it a prophecy. It was something spoken into their situation, not something pulled from their experience. Because if you look at their condition at that time, nothing about their environment said freedom. Nothing about their reality said land. I'm going to go to the promised land. Nothing said that. Nothing about their circumstances confirmed that outcome. So the message came first. Then the process had to follow. And that's what makes a prophecy in the text. The word first, reality after. Now watch this shift. Because even though the destination was spoken, the development was required. They had to become the kind of people who could actually live in what they were promised. So when you're doing your manifestation, you have to become the type of person that could actually live in what you're trying to manifest. So if yours is, I want to be a homeowner. If yours is like mine, I desire to be a wife. So you have to become that thing before it actually takes place, before it comes to fruition. You have to become that. That's why when the man findeth the wife, you ain't got these girlfriend tendencies. Just telling you, this is my experience. This is my life experience. So let me get back to the story. And when they didn't, and when you don't, you'll stay in the wilderness. They stayed in the wilderness 40 years. So now what are you actually looking at? Not just the promise, but a process, a pattern of transformation, and what happens when that process is avoided. And that's where people get it twisted today. Because just like those people, something that should have took them a couple of days, and I did the research on it, from where they were, according to the text, to where they went, should only have taken them a couple of days to get there. Because now instead of doing the work, instead of developing, instead of aligning, people keep repeating the promise without understanding the pattern that comes with it. And that right there is where prophecy gets turned into a loop This is why you're on that hamster wheel. This is why you keep reliving Groundhog's Day all over. The same thing happened every day instead of a path forward. But then something happened. They got into this wilderness. Instead of becoming, they started depending on something outside of themselves. They started depending on Moses to hear for them. Signs, they wanted signs for him to guide them, miracles to sustain them. And every time reality doesn't match those expectations, prediction error showed up for them. This is the same shit. Prediction error showed up. How did it show up, Ty? No water, no food. This isn't what they thought it was going to be. It wasn't. They said, take me back. Take me back from where I came from. When that water and food didn't show up how they expected, they complained. They doubted the whole promise. Let's go back to Egypt. I would rather deal with Pharaoh than this foolishness right here. And then it escalates. They built themselves a golden calf because Moses, the one was outside him, didn't do. I need something else. Because they needed something visible to follow. Something they could control when uncertainty hits. So what are you really seeing when pressure rises and needs, your needs aren't being met immediately? Are you reverting? You look for what's familiar. You go back to that ex that's familiar to you. I'm going to go back over there because at least I know him. At least he's familiar to me and I know how he get down. Come on, I'm talking to you. Even though y'all think I'm talking about Moses, I'm talking about us. You replace the unseen with something tangible. Not because the promise disappeared, not because you don't want to be treated right by a man, not because you don't want the things. But because you can't tolerate the process. And that right there is the pattern. Discomfort, doubt, regression, substitution. And if you don't catch it, you'll trade you'll trade that long-term alignment for a short-term relief every time. Now catch this. Instead of developing trust in themselves, they kept looking for Moses. And then when Moses went up into the mountain, they don't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. So what do? They started doing all kinds of things. Why? They couldn't sit with that uncertainty. They couldn't stay present. They needed a replacement authority. So that brings me to the point. Do my prophet no harm. With that idea, Moses becomes untouchable. Not because they understood truth, but because they depended on him. So now, truth is no longer something they developed. It's something they waited to be told. Prophecy. You will reach the promised land. Long-term plan. You have to become the kind of people you can live in it. And they miss that. That's why a journey that family that should be taking you a year to accomplish. You have spent 30 years working on the same thing. You done spent 10 years working on the same thing, trying to get it right. Because we weren't building what is required. Just like they were waiting, we're waiting. Every time expectation didn't match reality, they didn't adjust, we don't adjust. They complain or outsource responsibility instead of saying, what do I need to change about me? They said, fix it, Moses. Y'all say, fix it, God. Y'all say, fix it, mama. Y'all say, fix it. Everything but you. And that's the system of white supremacy. Ty, that's not my life, and I don't see how we are doing the same things. Let me show you how it shows up today, and I'm gonna get out of here. I ain't got no. Okay, got 10 minutes. I'm gonna get out of here. What they did in the wilderness back then, and I'm gonna pinpoint it because I want to be a little bit more meticulous about how I give it. They were told, you go into the promised land, but when things got uncomfortable, they didn't change. They complained. They waited, and today, when you say God is coming, but you don't change anything, same shit. You're holding on to the promise, but avoiding the process. Back then, when they got hungry, they complained. When they got thirsty, they doubted. When it didn't happen fast enough, they said, let's go back. Now today, when life gets hard, you panic. When things don't happen fast enough, you lose faith. When it feels uncomfortable, you go back to what's familiar, same pattern. Keep going, Ty. Back then, Moses goes to the mountain. They don't see him for a while. So they build that golden calf because they needed something they could see. And today, you don't hear from God how you expect. You run to a person. You run to your pastor. You run to the prophet. You run to a leader because you need something you can see. Same pattern. Y'all see it yet? Still don't see it? Let's keep going. Let me give you a couple more. Back then, they didn't trust the process, so they stayed in the wilderness. Now today, you don't trust the process, so you stay in the same cycles. Same wilderness, different form. So now the question is not, what did they do? The real question is, what am I doing today? Because if you're doing the same things, waiting instead of building, complaining instead of growing, following instead of using your African mind to think, then you're not just reading the story. You're repeating the same story. And that's why this matters. Because this is the promise didn't fail them. Their patterns did. Their own patterns deceived them. And if you don't change your patterns, you'll call it faith, but it'll keep you stuck. So that's it for me, family. Thank you for coming in and holding space with me tonight. We've unpacked a lot, a long time coming, and learning to tell the difference between prophecy and a long-term plan. And it's about seeing clearly. If you need to rewatch it, go over to my YouTube on It Starts With You without the H. Go in there and hold space. If you need to repeat it, it's a library of things. And each one that you go through, everything is going to connect because time makes sure that it's, I will call the police. Okay. If everything you're saying came from somebody else, at best, they're putting you on game. Okay. Thank you, beloved. These people, this information is supposed to put you on. I'm giving it to you. I leave it on the floor. So sit with this information. Don't try to judge it. Don't analyze it all. If it offends, listen to it a little bit. Come back to it later. Enjoyed you as usual. Thank you for everything. You're welcome, beloved. I understand that it's oftentimes hard to take what Ty gives out. I do. I recognize that. but I'm sharing with you my journey and the things that I have to go through on a daily. And I use the biblical allegories to show you everything that I unpack. I can show you where it shows up, even if they won't give it to you. Thank you, beloved. Come back and hold space with us again. And it's not going to be something the same. You're going to go on those other channels and see that, but Ty is going to hold space with something different every single time. I know my next topic. I don't know if I'm going to do it Tuesday or Sunday, but come back and hold space with us again here on It Starts With You. So I want to leave you guys with a quote tonight because I got 5 minutes, but I'm going to leave you guys with a quote. It says, "No price is too high to pay for privilege of owning yourself." Let me say that again for the people in the back. No price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. And when we're outsourcing things to everybody, you don't own yourself. Because that shift that Ty is walking us into on It Starts With You, from waiting to owning, from following to seeing, from repeating to becoming. And that's the goal, to become the greatest version of you. Whatever your image of you is before the world taught you what to be. That's it for me, family. Hotep.